So first up we have all new X-Men issue 2. It is for the third week in a row, and my pick of the week is the first book I read and the book I was most anticipating. This story kicks off where the last one obviously left off. Beast has gone to the past to bring the X-Men of that time to the future to try and get Cyclops to talk to his future self and make him see how far he's fallen. But Beast is dying and nobody knows this yet. He's going through a third mutation and it's killing him. So he has to persuade the X-Men to come with him, and they're like, why should we come with him? Why can't the Professor of the Future deal with this? And he sort of reveals that Cyclops has already killed the Professor in the future, and this really has a big effect. And they decide eventually to go with him to the future, and they're full of loads of questions. Like Jean finds out she can read minds, which she didn't know she could do yet. She's got questions like, well, why is the school named after me? Wolverine attacks them because he smells some unfamiliar smells, so he attacks and he gets blasted by Cyclops. Then the X-Men all come out and they can't believe what Beast has done, but then Beast collapses and because he's dying. So they're trying to save Beast and try and find out how they can help their friend, while the X-Men of the past are together and sort of trying to decide, well, what do we do? What do we do now we're in the future? And they kind of come to a decision which will lead us to the next issue. I really enjoyed this. Was everything I hoped this book would be when they announced what they were going to do with this title. There's so many ways they can go. The reactions of the different characters to their future selves or their past selves is really good. It's not just like the effect that this story is going to have on this original team of X-Men. Like already Jean, years before she learned she can read minds, which something she wasn't able to do until much later. And so it's going to affect them going back, but also the characters they're going to interact with, it's going to affect them going forward. The art, I thought Stuart Immonen, who'd done the art on this issue, I liked his art a lot better this issue. I thought it was a lot better. I thought there were just odd characters, as he's getting used to drawing these characters, that he didn't quite do full justice to. But this issue I thought was brilliant. Couldn't fault the art. The story as well by Bendis was just epic. Like I say, everything I hoped this book would be when they said they were going to do this book. There's some beautiful art. And initially I did, I was in two minds whether I was going to get this book or not. But now it's a definite on my pull list, and I'm really enjoying this book and give it a thumbs up. And because my pick of the week is all new X-Men issue 2, I look forward to issue 3 next week. Next up we have Uncanny Avengers issue 2, Better Late Than Never. I love this cover, by the way, I really do. This issue, Red Skull's now got a piece of Professor Xavier's brain in his head, so it has all of Xavier's powers of able to read people's minds and make them do what he wants. And he's captured Rogue and he's captured Scarlet Witch, but the one he really wants is Scarlet Witch because she has the power to wipe out the mutant race. She's done it before, and he's going to use his powers to make her use her powers to do that again. Meanwhile, Rogue is trying to get away to escape. They show Captain America and Havoc, Thor and some other heroes cleaning up New York after Avalanche's attack. Wolverine shows up, says this is an avalanche, he was rehabilitated, something's going on here. Cap agrees there's something wrong with his eyes, that agrees there's something going on here. Thor says he's now going to get involved, that he's left humans to deal with this thing with mutants, but now somebody's trying to cause trouble, so he's going to get involved and they're going to feel the full wrath of Thor. Cap tells Wolverine that he feels mutants and humans need to work more closely together, so he's going to make a new team and he's going to put Havoc in charge of that team. And Wolverine isn't keen on that. This guy is the brother of Cyclops, the guy that almost fried the world. This is a bad move. We then jump back. Rogue manages to escape. She goes to find Scarlet Witch, but Scarlet Witch has now been brainwashed by Red Skull. So they have a battle which leads us to the end of our issue. and to our cliffhanger. I enjoyed this issue, I did. I really liked the writing, I really liked the way they used the Red Skull, with him being a Nazi during World War II, and we get an explanation of how he's here and who he is and everything. We get the full explanation of that in this issue, which is good. But with him being a Nazi, it really fits in with his character that he would hate mutants because they're different. You know, Nazis felt that everybody should be the same. You know, they had this very defined how the perfect human should be, and anyone who didn't fall into that, they were going to wipe out. So you can understand that this character would go for something like a mutant genocide. You know, it fits in with his character, and I liked that. I also liked how powerful they've made him. It really makes you wonder, how are the Avengers going to stop him? Because he can just make anyone do what he wants. What's stopping him from turning the Avengers into his own personal guard? So I'm really looking forward to see how they're going to resolve this issue and how they're going to stop the Red Skull. I'm also looking forward to the team. I'm a bit impatient. I want to see the team together already, especially if at issue 5 we're going to have more characters introduced. I'd really like to see them together now. On a slightly negative note, I wasn't too keen on all the art. I thought in the main, John Cassidy did a great job. Just the scenes with Captain America, and it seems to be since they've changed Cap's outfit that people can't seem to draw him right. You can see Cap there. It doesn't look too bad, but if you look at him there, it's because the top that isn't a mask anymore, it's a helmet now, and people seem to be having trouble relating that. I don't like how he's been drawn. And Cassidy's drawn Cap before and he's done greatly, but now he's got this new, you know, the outfit they've changed to bring it more in line with the film. So some artists are still struggling with that. It's a shame. The rest of the art in this issue though is great. There's some really great moments. Rogue's escape. You know, some really great moments, but people just seem to be really struggling drawing Cap. All in all, I enjoyed this issue. I thought it was good. I also loved how they used Rogue's power. That was a really nice new take on how to use her powers. But all in all, I'm enjoying this book. I'm definitely on board for the long haul, and you know, I give Uncanny Avengers a thumbs up. So next up we have Thor, God of Thunder, issue 2. This issue we concentrate mainly on young Thor, and we see how he differs. And this is one of the things I really like about this book. We're following Thor from his past, his present, and his future, and I like how they've made each Thor feel different. And so young Thor hasn't got his humility yet. He's a lot more brash and arrogant. And there's a nice scene at the beginning of the book where he's in the Hall of Weapons and trying to lift Mjolnir, but he's not worthy of Mjolnir yet, so he can't lift it. But you lift it up, which is really a really nice scene. It's a nice comedic moment that Jason Aaron slips in there, but at the same time, it also serves the purpose of establishing this Thor isn't worthy of Mjolnir yet. There is a different Thor to the Thor that we know nowadays. So I like that. That was a nice device used there by Aaron. We then see young Thor with his Viking friends traveling to what would become Russia to pillage and fight, and they encounter this horse that should have this god on the back, but the horse is covered in blood. So Thor jumps on this horse to try and find out, you know, where this god is, because the god that he saw back in Iceland is still haunting him. So he wants to find out more about these gods, about these others, see what's happened to this god. And he encounters the God Butcher, and they engage in their first fight, and that's really what the bulk of this issue is about. Thor's first encounter with the God Butcher, and we end this issue with current day Thor, which I gather maybe we're going to deal with him in the next issue. Again, it was a really good issue, really good story. The art is absolutely gorgeous. I'd not heard of this artist before, but I'm really loving what he's doing with this book. Again, the story is really, it's building nicely. My only gripe, there's this one scene where Thor is fighting the God Butcher, but the dialogue is talking about this encounter he had when he learnt the difference between war and murder, and about there was this like Asgardian who was going around killing people, and that they sort of had to execute him, and how Thor went to him to try and see the difference. And it's an interesting story that they told, but I found myself so engrossed in the dialogue and in that story that I had to go back after I'd finished that bit of a dialogue, that inner monologue. I had to go back and look at the fight sequence. It distracted because you had two totally different stories that didn't relate, and I found it too distracting, and maybe having that as a flashback scene would have worked better. I don't know, but that's my only, and that, if like, that's the worst I can say about this book, then, you know, it shows it's a good book. Once again, the art is just, I don't know how good you can see this because my lighting today, it's going good and bad, but yeah, the art again is really, it's a gorgeous book, and I definitely, you know, here we got the God Butcher there. It reminds me the way he, you know, his blades and stuff appear, reminds me a bit of the symbiont that Venom has. So, you know, I'm wondering, is there going to be some connection, or is that just, you know, just a coincidence? But anywho, I'm enjoying this book. I'm definitely on it for the long haul. Just going on my pull list regularly now. I'm really liking what Jason Aaron's doing with this book, and give it a definite thumbs up. Next up, we have The Flash, and the last issue ended with the Grodd and his guerrilla army attacking Flash's hometown. So Flash had to team up with his rogues to try and protect the place. He's now gone to confront Grodd, but he finds that not only is Grodd stronger than him, but Grodd now has access to the Speed Force, so he is as fast as the Flash. So the whole issue sort of deals with how is Flash going to deal with Grodd. But we have all our little side stories that are starting to come. Turbine, and he says he's going to help her, Patty find Barry Allen, and that he needs to go to the zoo first, and they get this talking gorilla from the zoo called Solovar. And then we also see Iris still trapped in the Speed Force. Iris' brother, he's looking for her now. I've got a suspicion. They say we're going to see Professor Zoom coming up the Reverse Flash in a few issues time. I've got a feeling is Iris' brother going to be the Reverse Flash? Is he going to blame Barry for, well, where's my sister? Or for leaving her in the Speed Force even, you know? Is that's how he's going to get his power, you know, trying to save her? Time will tell, but we're starting to see him, and we saw him last issue, and I just think that, you know, one thing we've learnt from this creative team is never discount anything. Even in this issue, they're bringing things from 5 issues ago that we've dismissed, and they're showing, yes, this was relevant, which is one of the great things about this book. The conclusion of this book, it sees Barry getting his ass whooped by Grodd as Turbine, Patty and Solovar turn up. Just a fantastic book. Not enough fanfare for this book. I really love it. It builds so brilliantly. It's like individually each issue is beautiful and has a good story, but put it together and it makes this marvellous tapestry, marvellous rich tapestry that just makes the whole, the individual parts make the whole so much better. And that's what this book, the art is always, when Manapul and Buccellati do the art, it is always gorgeous, and they don't let you down in this issue. Once again, some great art. And it's, you know, it's great seeing the rogues trying to help out, to save their city. But all in all, yeah, it is really good. Really recommend picking this book up, whether you just like good art or you want to maybe read a different character you've not read before. I believe they've just released or about to release the first volume of this with the first 6 issues, which is well worth picking up. But pick it up monthly. It's a great book. I really recommend this book. I love it, and I give it a thumbs up. So next up we have A+X issue 1. This came out a few weeks ago. I only just picked it up. I picked up issue 2 up, which I'll be reviewing in a bit. But I thought get issue 1 while I was there. They still had it, so I picked it up. Basically what it is, it's a team up book. Each issue will feature 2 short stories of 2 characters teaming up. The gimmick being that is that one character will be an Avenger and one character will be an X-Men, which is where the A+X name comes. So in this first issue we see Captain America over here, Captain America with Bucky team up with Cable, and in our second story we see Wolverine team up with the Hulk. So our first story features set during the war, and Cappy and Buck are going to trap this guy called Trask, who's building this robot that he's burying in the ground for the Nazis, to be like a sleeper robot that's going to wake up if they lose the war. So Bucky and Cap are going to take this guy out and take out this whatever he's building out. While they're there, Cable shows up because this Trask is a Trask from the future, and he's tried to travel to the past to build this Sentinel. So and like Cap is like, who's this guy Cable? He doesn't know who Cable is, but Cable knows who Cap is, and Cap's like a bit suspicious. And then he says, you know, listen Rogers, and he's like, how do you know my identity? Which is a really nice moment. And you know, because Cable's from the future, he knows everything, and a nice little battle ensues as they try to stop Trask. So the second story is set around Hulk and Wolverine fighting over a piece of cake, when Old Man Wolverine and Maestro turn up from the future, their future selves, and they turning up wanting to kill the Hulk, but it's not the Green Hulk they want, but they end up getting themselves a bit of the Green Hulk and a bit of Wolverine. Two really good stories, both short, enjoyable. I left after this. I wish Marvel offered the value for money that DC does, because when DC do a $3.99 book, that they do a few extra pages, and that really makes a difference. You really feel you're getting your money's worth, and I wish Marvel did that, because both of these stories would have really benefited from that. Saying that though, both were really enjoyable. The Wolverine Hulk one leaves on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so is that going to be something that's going to build to something bigger later on? Maybe something we're going to see maybe in Ultron, the Ultron War thing. But all in all, I enjoyed this book, and it left me wanting more, which I think every book should do. And the fact as well, you've got a different creative team. The first story, Captain America and Cable, is written by Dan Slott, art by Ron Garvey. And the Hulk and Wolverine story is written by Jeff Loeb, art by Dale Keown. So yeah, so like, it's nice having the two stories in here. I did like that. But at the same time I thought, well, maybe they could do like DC Universe Presents and have a whole story, one whole issue feature one story, you know, or have a story run across a few issues. This is one of my favourite panels of the book, by Dale Keown. You got Old Man Logan and Maestro from the future, which I really liked, and there is a bit of a cliffhanger with that one. But yeah, I enjoyed this book, definitely. If I hadn't picked it up already, I definitely would get issue 2. It was just a nice, enjoyable issue, and like you said, forget about continuity. If you just want to quick, fun stories, this is the book to pick up, and I give it a thumbs up. Next up, we have a new number 1 from Image. New number 1 issue from Image, and it is The Nowhere Men. It's set around 4 scientists who set up this company called WorldCorp. We then jump to years in the future. Only 3 of the scientists are still working for this company now. 1 has resigned or been fired. We don't really know what's happened to him. And the one who just created this new hybrid gorilla that has killed 2 people, and he just says there, you know, it's not a big thing, you know. While the other 2 scientists are appalled that these 2 people have been killed, and they think it needs to be shut down. And you can see there's clearly problems in the relationship with these 3 scientists. We then jump to these other people that have been quarantined, and they've all got these disease, this virus, but it's affecting them in different ways. But they still seem to be working, which is a curious thing. Why, if they're quarantined, would they still be working? It's a curious thing, but it gets explained because it's the big reveal at the end of the issue, and you sort of just really introduced into all these people. I enjoyed this book. It was good. It didn't blow me away, and I think at the moment we're so spoiled with so many great books, but also so many great number 1s. You know, I think probably the last year and a half, we've had more number 1s than we've ever had. You know, when you look at the New 52, and then you had the second and the third waves of that. You've got the Marvel Now initiative. You've got Image have brought loads of new books out. we've had so many number ones and so many great number ones that, you know, to really get onto my pull list, you've got to be something special, or at the very least really intrigue me. This book intrigued me, mildly intrigued me. Didn't intrigue me enough to get it again, so I won't be picking this book up again. Though I'm not saying it was a bad book. I did like how they used these newspaper articles to sort of introduce you to all the characters. It did feel very much like it was two comics, because you have this first bit. I really think that this scientist here, they've drawn him. I think the way they've drawn him, it reminds me a lot of Willem Dafoe. I don't know if that was, you know, deliberate, but you have this first bit with the scientists, and then we have like this page in the middle, and we sort of jump to this story about these people in quarantine. So it felt very much like two separate stories for the first issue, and I don't know if that hurt it, but it's a lot of introductions, and then at the end we have this like interview, newspaper interview with the scientist Thomas Walker, who left World Corp. But yeah, like I say, it was a good book, but just not good enough to persuade me to get this next issue. I give it a thumbs in the middle. Next up we have Bedlam issue 2, and this was a book I was a bit concerned about. I enjoyed the first issue immensely, but since then we've had Batman come out, and Scott Snyder is writing the Joker so brilliantly. I've never known a villain so terrifying in a comic before. And the character in our first issue here, Madder Red, he was basically a mass murderer along the same lines as the Joker, and he was pretty disturbing in his first issue, but Joker's took it to a whole new level. So I wasn't sure, did I want to read a book based on the Joker character but with a different name, and a sort of like a what if you will, kind of story. And so I picked this book up, not sure whether I was going to come back to issue 3, but I read issue 2 and it really surprised me, as it went in a totally different direction from where issue 1 did. We're still getting bits and pieces put together about what's happened to Fillmore, the former Madder Red. It starts off, we saw him get shot in the last issue. The doctor and the nurses that we saw in the first issue show up, and they heal his wounds, and you know, he wakes up and sort of tells the doctor what's happened, and we get a couple of glimpses of what happened to him with them cutting pieces of his brain out, and they're sort of talking through, and he's explaining how, you know, he's got no skills. The only way he can help, the only thing he knows to do is to kill people. So the only thing he can do to help is to help catch serial killers, because that's what he knows, that's what he understands. So he has the doctor's blessing to carry on, but he's got to keep secret who they are. So we don't know who this doctor is, why they took him in, who this place is. We also get a glimpse of this other serial killer who seems to have really religious overtones. We get to see him, which I gather is going to be maybe who Fillmore's going to come up against in future issues. We also see the police. They think that Fillmore, when he phoned up to offer help, that he's actually the serial killer, and they now think that the serial killer who's been killing old people is Fillmore, but they don't know who Fillmore is yet. And the end of the issue is really shocking, because like the character, yeah, he's trying to do good, but he's still insane. And so, like with the Joker, he can just, you don't know where he's going to go, what he's going to do, and that's where the issue ends, with him doing something totally shocking and unexpected, and something I cannot understand why he's done it. But I'm intrigued. I like the character, I like the book, and I'm definitely intrigued enough to come back to the next issue. The art, once again, I like the art. It was a different style of art. I don't know. Again, I apologise if you can't see it very well. The lighting in there isn't very good. You know, but once again, the art was good, and the flashback scenes were, again, you know, were like red and black and white, with what the current day scenes had slightly more colouring in. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to get issue 3, and I give this book a thumbs up. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So next up we have the next issue in our Alan Earth crossover. It is Superman issue 14, and this issue Superman gets to meet Hal. He's met Superboy, he's met Supergirl, now he gets to meet the last son of Krypton. Superman totally does not trust this guy, and blows holes in this guy's story, and you know, then he pulls Superboy from wherever he's got Superboy, and Superman's like appalled. He's like, let that child go, and a fight ensues between Superman and Hal, and all kinds of crazy stuff happens. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this book since Lobdell took over, and I'm enjoying this crossover. I'm really intrigued about this Hal. I'm still sticking to my story. I think he's going to be Bizarro, the new 52 version of Bizarro, because we saw him with that reverse S, and that seems to have disappeared. You know, when he encountered Superboy, he had it, but it's since disappeared when he's encountered Supergirl and Superman. And we know from this issue, when he attacks Supergirl and disguises himself as Superman, we know Hal can change his appearance, or the perception of his appearance. So it's very likely that he could have that S on there, and he's just made it so people can't see it. I like, you know, what they're doing with Clark. We get to see him and Lois, to see that there's that friendship. So that one day they could end up an item, you know. And I like that. Because that's one of the things we love about Superman, was his relationship with Lois Lane. So it's good to see that there is at least a possibility in the future that could happen. I'm enjoying this crossover. I'm hoping the end result of this crossover is we're going to get a good Superman book, monthly book. I also really love the art in here. Kenneth Rocafort. Oh, it's just really nice art. You know, and you sort of gets busted at the beginning of the issue with Supergirl turning up while Lois is there, and he's Clark Kent. So there we go. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Like I say, the art was a big point for me in this book, but hopefully this is the sign of good things to come, and I give it a thumbs up. Next up we have Justice League Dark issue 14. The bulk of the issue, really, I was worried that this was going to be like just a filler issue. I needed to worry. It's once again another great issue. We start off where we left off. Zatanna and Timothy have disappeared. John Constantine wants them back. Steve Trevor is going to help, and he brings this guy in, but the guy says it's going to take time to sort of find out what's happened. Frankenstein, Amethyst, and Black Orchid decide to have a look around the House of Mystery, which is a very nice thing that they're using this to sort of introduce us a bit more and tell us a bit more about Amethyst and about Frankenstein and who they are. If you haven't read their books, I thought that was a really nice way to do that, to separate them off with Black Orchid. We learn a bit more about them, see what they can do. Black Orchid makes a shocking discovery as she discovers this room, which you gather is John Constantine's room, that's just got on the wall all these different things about all these different characters in the DC universe. So that was really interesting, as you get these like questions that he's written down on this big wall with all these pictures, sort of clues to what might be coming up in the future. Meanwhile, Constantine, you know, they're trying to get, how are they going to find Zatanna and Timothy when a certain character turns up, and there's a big story coming up next year called Trinity War. It begins here, you know, as a character turns up and says you have to pick a side. Great conclusion. I just really enjoyed this issue. The art, we had a different artist on this issue. Graham Nolan did this issue, and his art was good. You know, I liked his art. I still prefer Mikhail Yanin, who's just superb, and hopefully he'll come back. But you know, in the main, yeah, I like the art on this issue. Yeah, I like the art, but let's see what else we got. Oh, here's the room. You see, got all them pictures on the wall, and there's all these files on different people. Really intriguing. Jeff Lemire's done a fantastic overhaul on this book. I'd not read it before, so maybe I'm a bit unfair saying that, but I started picking this up when Jeff Lemire came on it, and I've loved every issue. Really good book, a definite book every month on my pull list, and gets a definite thumbs up. Next up, the final issue, issue 4 of Silk Spectre. It's in the Before Watchmen series, and this is one book that has surprised me all through this run. It was a book when it started I wasn't that interested in, but I was going to try all the issue 1s of the Before Watchmen out and sort of see what I felt. So then I picked up Silk Spectre. From issue 1 I enjoyed it. The deeper I got into it, the more I came to care about this character and what happened to her. And I was generally heartbroken what happened to her last issue. It was really, really sad. You know, much worse than a character dying off. It was really sad what happened, and really tragic. And you know, so this is the skill of the writers of this book, is they've took a character I didn't care about and made me care. The art, as always, is fantastic. This wraps up everything. Hollis arrives in San Francisco to try and find Laurie, who's run away. She now thinks her boyfriend's run away, but we know that it was the comedian who made him write that letter and made him join the army instead. Or kill him. And so Laurie is all heartbroken because she thought it was love, which it was. She doesn't know all about what the comedian's done, and but Hollis turns up looking for her, and she just has to tie up all these loose ends she's got, because we know that drug dealer from the previous issues, the people over them sort of want to get everything sort of wrapped up. You know, they don't want no loose ends, so they start killing off people. So they come after Laurie's friends, but luckily Hollis is there, and sort of Hollis kicks their ass. So the Silk Spectre's going to wrap things up before she returns home. There's a really great touching scene with her mom, which I really liked that. And then the end, which was brilliant. It gives us a new perspective on a well-known scene from the Watchmen book, but it gives us a real different perspective, and it really ends the story nicely. I think this book is just fantastic. It deserves to be read. If you've not read this book, when the trade comes out, and I'm sure they'll bring them all out in trade, pick it up. It has been one of the best books that they've done in the Before Watchmen series. The art is gorgeous, the story is great, and you don't even have to know I've read Watchmen. You'd still get a level of enjoyment out of this book, even if you didn't know that, just because of how well the characters are written. To give you some more samples of the art, don't know how well you can see it. The sun's decided to come out, which is a good thing. It's a good thing, unless you're trying to record a video, and then it's an annoying thing. But yeah, there were some nice touches in this book, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. The art was really great. I'm really going to look out for Amanda Conner in the future. I love her art, and just the writing team of Darwin Cook and Amanda Conner were brilliant. And yeah, I really give this book a strong recommendation. Really try it out. You'll enjoy it, and I give it a definite thumbs up. Next up, we have issue 2 of Avengers versus Avengers plus X-Men. Sorry. I enjoyed the first issue, so I was glad I'd picked up the two together. When I read the first one, I was wondering, well, would they do maybe in the future to change it up? You know, do like DC Universe Presents does, and just have like one story, maybe over 3 issues. But when I'd read this one, I like the format. I really do. And it makes for nice, short, fun stories that aren't too deep. They're just a lot of fun, and that's the whole idea of this book. It's just fun. Our first team up, we see Black Widow and Rogue, our 2 ladies on the cover. Two other more kick-ass females in the Marvel Universe, and there's a Rogue Sentinel, but he's like a Mark 10, so they're like the same size as humans. It's Black Widow's day off, and he turns up, smashes her car, So she's got to take care of business. Rogue turns up and they have to team up to take out this Sentinel. And a really nice story. The second story sees Kitty Pryde as Tony Stark's going to offer her a job. But then these aliens turn up, a familiar alien you'll recognise. I gather as a consequence of something that's happened in the book Wolverine and the X-Men. And Iron Man and Kitty sort of have to team up to sort of take them out. But not, in the end they team up, but it's all Kitty's ideas and Kitty's, planning that wins the day. But they do both have to sort of stop this threat. I enjoyed it. It was, as always, it's great to see different writers writing these characters. I liked the interaction between Rogue and Black Widow in the first story. They're both two really kick-ass females, so it was great to see them, interacting, and both of them shown to be kick-ass in their own way. The second story, I was disappointed that we didn't get to see that it was the red and gold armor and not the new armor that we get to see in the little picture here. The art I wasn't as clean on in the second story, but I think that's more of a personal preference rather than it being bad. But the actual story I really liked. It was written by Peter David, who always does great work, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, this was another great issue. We had always that nice introduction page. Here's our first story. And Rogue is in action. And then our second story, different artists. I just did not enjoy the style of the art. But like I say, I think that's just more of a personal preference by me. But yeah, I'm enjoyed this book. I'm going to add it to my pull list, which is bulging, over bulging at the moment with books. I enjoyed this book, and it's one. If you just like a fun, quick read, this is definitely one to pick up, and I give it a thumbs up. Next up we have FF issue 1. The Fantastic Four are going away, so they're each individually going around asking people to come together. They think they're only going to be gone 4 minutes, but in case something goes wrong, they want to make sure that the Future Foundation is looked after. So they're going to each go around asking someone to take their place while they go away on this mission. And so like Thing goes and recruits She-Hulk. Sue Storm goes and asks Medusa. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, he asks his girlfriend Darla. While Reed Richards goes to find Ant-Man. This was a book I wasn't too sure about, but I ended up picking it up, and I really enjoyed this book. It was a really nice setup for the series. I particularly really empathised with Ant-Man, and he was a really interesting character who's still in a lot of emotional pain, but Reed is trying to give him a way to get through that. And I liked all the kids from the Future Foundation. They seemed interesting. The ones that, particularly the Moloids, really stuck out for me. Talking about the Ben, we've got everything we do to please the Ben. They would seem really funny, and I also really liked Bentley 23, I think his name was. I thought he was also an interesting character. But all in all, I enjoyed this book, and I don't know if I'm going to put it on my pull list, but I'm definitely going to try and pick up issue 2. The art as well, I like the art. It was more of to me, a different kind of style, more of a cartoony kind of style. But it was really good. I really like these little bits they put in with the sort of the children of the Future Foundation, so each talking. I thought there were some really good moments there and some interesting characters. But yeah, it was a nice setup issue, and left me, as I say with everything, that you should always be left wanting more, and this did, and I enjoyed it, and it was really some nice twists and turns in it. And yeah, I'm going to be back for issue 2, and I enjoyed it. I give it a thumbs up. Next up we have Talon, issue 2, the final book for me this week in what was another big week. I enjoyed this book. Again, I enjoyed it. I don't think it was quite the heights of issue 0 and 1, but it was still a good read. This issue, Calvin now teamed up with Sebastian to try and bring down what's left of the core of owls, and they go to this place, this hotel in Gotham, and underneath this hotel is this secret place of the Talons that they call Eden, and they have all the most valuable artifacts there, all the stuff that they can use to sell to make money, but also all the information and stuff. And Calvin, first thing he wants to do on this new mission, he wants to get any information they've got on him and on the two, the son and the mom and daughter he rescued in the Zero issue. He wants to get any information on them, so that the Towers haven't got it anymore and that they'll be safe, and then he'll do everything Sebastian wants him to do. But there's a kind of a twist in the tale. He gets into this place, he managed to find the safe, he managed to crack the safe, but that leaves the shock, and that maybe questions, can he trust Sebastian when he finds what's in there. Then the Talon, who's guarded this place, turns up, and we get that whole Talon's backstory, and Calvin has to fight his way out of there, get his way out of there. But also, what afterwards, we get the repercussions of like his relationship with Sebastian. Also, we get the repercussions of how the Corps are going to deal with Calvin Rose. So some nice, good things happened in this issue, and it moved the story forward nicely. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the art as well. I thought the art was really good. It was a bit wordy in parts. Loads of dialogue boxes and bubbles. It was always there for a purpose, but sometimes there was like scenes where it could be a bit distracting because you sort of wanted to be following what's going on. But all in all, though, I would say it was a good issue. One thing I think that was its strength was the fact that I think if you had not read this book before, it was very easy to follow, and maybe that's part of because there were so many dialogue boxes, so much expedition, that sort of really told you so much, that really filled you in. But yeah, I enjoyed this issue, and I liked the way they positioned the character, that he's not a hero by his own words. He's not in this. He wants to take out the owls for selfish reasons, and he doesn't hide from that fact. And I like that. And I like this book, and I give it a thumbs up, and I look forward to future issues.